So I recently took a bucket list cruise to the coldest place on planet Earth at the bottom of the world, Antarctica. This cruise would not only become my favorite cruise that I have taken so far, but also the most expensive cruise that I've ever paid for. Now in this review, I'm going to be as thorough as possible, give you all the details as far as the pricing, everything I paid for, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything that I think you may want to know. However, if you guys want some extra content, I do have a 6-part series of my daily activities on board this expedition cruise that I took on my other channel, Jay the Nomad. I'll link it right up here and in the description box below. The cruise line that I will be sailing over to the frozen tundra of Antarctica with will be known as Atlas Ocean Voyages. They are a brand new expedition cruise line that started in 2021. They only have a couple ships and they offer sailings to not only Antarctica, they go to the Galapagos and plenty of exotic and amazing places. And one thing that you have to understand about expedition cruises as opposed to your average regular run-of-the-mill cruise over to the Caribbean out of Miami is that expedition means if possible. It is a little bit more, let's say, taxing on the body. You're going to do a lot more and, well, it's going to provide an amazing experience in most cases. However, the caveat is that this type of cruise is going to be a lot more expensive than your average cruise. The ship that I will be sailing on would be a brand new yacht-style ship known as the Atlas Ocean World Traveler. The ship was launched in the year 2022, has 9 decks, holds 180 passengers, has 150 crew to create a 1-to-1 ratio. This is the luxury aspect of it. And well, it goes to many destinations. And also when it comes to this particular cruise ship, it has no interior cabins, no inside cabins. Everything is either balcony or has what's known as a window wall where you create kind of like a balcony out of that particular area. The price that I would pay for this luxury expedition cruise to Antarctica would come out to just shy of $6,500. However, full transparency, that is not the normal price, as this cruise is typically a lot more expensive. And keep in mind, this is for 2 people that I paid, but typically on a cruise of this magnitude will usually run you at about potentially $7,000 to $8,000 a person at minimum. However, it can get as high as up to $20,000 per person. The reason that I was able to pay so much less than, let's say, everybody else on the ship was because I had a friend of mine that is a travel agent. Shout out to you, Carly. Carly's husband is also a pilot. They get what's known as Interline Rates, which gives them a significantly lower price, a discount, if you will, for a cruise that you would typically pay full price for. The cost of your cruise does, of course, cover your living accommodation, your suite. I have what's known as an A1 Horizon suite on board. I'll show you that later on in the video. It covers some of your excursions. It covers your food, your drinks. This does, of course, include alcohol as well, and so many other amazing amenities. Now, keep in mind, this is all due to the fact that, yes, this is an expensive cruise. It's a luxury cruise, and it also is an expedition cruise. Like I said earlier, this means that it's not going to be your regular cruise. Expedition means if possible, basically meaning that you are paying for the attempt. You might have something planned as far as your itinerary or what you plan to do as far as your excursions, and literally at the snap of a finger, the weather could be extremely unpredictable and random, and everything is changed or canceled, which is something that I witnessed very commonly throughout my expedition cruise. My cruise will begin from Ushuaia, Argentina. However, in order to get there, I had to fly from my city of Tampa, Florida. This did set me back a significant amount. Now, I typically fly to places like Europe regularly, where I can pay as low as $300 round trip because I know how to wheel and deal. I know the flights. For myself and my girlfriend, Lauren, just to get from Florida over to Buenos Aires, Argentina, it cost me just under $2,300 for a round trip ticket. We spent 4 days over in Buenos Aires, and then we had our flight covered to Ushuaia by the cruise line Atlas Ocean. This is included in your fare. They will offer you a charter flight from Buenos Aires over to Ushuaia because those prices, depending on the time of the year, can get quite expensive considering it's still summertime going into winter. And this is also March when I sail, the last month before winter, meaning everybody's trying to go ahead and get their last, well, let's say fix over in their hiking area of Ushuaia and also their expedition cruise over to Antarctica. So we flew with Fly Bondi, very quick, well, inexpensive flight over there because we didn't pay. And upon arrival, Atlas Ocean, they had signs over there. They took our bags and everything was handled. So when we got to Ushuaia, we got on a charter bus from the charter flight and they took us directly over to the World Traveler cruise ship. The port was not your typical cruise port. We weren't exactly in Port Miami. There were a lot of workers and a lot of, well, just regular activities going on over there. When we boarded the World Traveler, we felt extremely welcomed immediately. The staff over there were nice. They were, well, helpful, and and it just created a very comforting environment. We got drinks right out of the gate, and then we were even escorted straight over to our room. I will be staying in the back or aft of the ship in Suite 640. Now, this provided me with not only an amazing room, the A1 Horizon suite. It was a very, very nice, but also kind of functional, somewhat small room, but it was absolutely beautiful. By far the greatest and most beautiful, luxurious room I have ever stayed in on board a cruise ship. If you want a thorough review of that room, I will link it right up here and in the description box, because you guys should definitely check it out. But being in the afterback of the ship, well, we also had like another set of a balcony area, lounging area, literally right outside my door, which kind of created for me the perfect location to see whales and everything else that we would be seeing on our adventure. It was just an amazing view. As I explored the ship, I noticed that this is by far the most beautiful ship that I have ever been on in my entire life. It created a very intimate, luxurious feel, but also relaxed, as Atlas Ocean is, yes, a luxury line, but they do kind of have a relaxing vibe to them as well. I want to say, well, casual vibe to them, which I thought was pretty cool. The ship is also brand new, so, well, you know, everything works properly. Over in the dining area, they kind of have like a two-piece feature. It is not only the place where you go sit down and they take your order, or you order a la carte, however it is that you want to eat your meals, but they also have a buffet area there that they use for either the busy days or also just the first day. That way it's the most convenient for all of the passengers and the crew on board. Now, in order to get to Antarctica, you have to survive something known as the Drake Passage. If you have ever seen a video of a ship that is going through what seems to be like 40-foot waves, that's probably from the Drake Passage. This is known to be some of the roughest seas on planet Earth. It can be extremely random, extremely unpredictable. However, thankfully for myself and, well, my girlfriend Lauren, luck was on our side, as we didn't have to deal with too much rocky seas, but it was enough to unfortunately make my girlfriend Lauren, well, vomit. Me, I have my sea legs, so I'm kind of just used to rough waters. I sleep like a baby, as I used to work on board a cruise ship, so, well, for everybody else, they just really wasn't so lucky. But thankfully the waves weren't as big as, well, could have been. It takes 2 days to get through the dreaded rough Drake Passage, and throughout those 2 days there's a lot going on, like for example meetings that are mandatory. If you didn't go to the meetings, then, well, you couldn't get off in Antarctica. At least this is what we were told. These meetings were very important because Antarctica, like I said, has very random and unpredictable weather, and we have to make sure that not only us as passengers are safe, we understand the instructions on what's going on over there for not only ourselves, the wildlife and the environment over to Antarctica. So we had to go to these meetings. However, let's say for the people that were not brave enough to wobble during the Drake Passage to these meetings, they also had a camera in the auditorium in which you could visually watch the meeting on television. Call down the guest services, confirm that you watched it. I'm assuming they're going to give you some kind of test to make sure you actually heard what was going on, but overall it was just something that wasn't part of your traditional cruise where you get to kind of freestyle, do what you want. I understood why the meetings were there. However, just something you guys should be aware of: you are going to have tons and tons of mandatory meetings that are going to be at the beginning of the day, and there's going to be maybe one at the evening hours, and, well, it's a very interesting environment. It's not like your traditional cruise. Just keep that in mind. Now, I knew I was in Antarctica when I woke up and immediately saw my first iceberg. Naturally, I did think about the Titanic, because this will become a recurring theme. There'd be iceberg after little iceberg and big iceberg. It was absolutely cool, frightening, but also very beautiful to see. And when we got over there, well, that's when the festivities started. By that I mean the cancellations and the changes of the weather. We would go to island after island, because believe it or not, even though it is an icy area, there are islands. And then we had what was known as like island days, and then we had like what was known as continental landings, where we would actually step foot on the continent of Antarctica. And keep in mind, this is something that you can only do with an expedition cruise, a smaller yacht style ship, because the bigger ones, let's say if you go to Holland America, well, you're going to just simply go see Antarctica. You're not going to get off because the ships are not small enough to be able to fit through all the passages to go to places in which you can actually get off safely and securely. The entertainment on board was somewhat as expected for this type of cruise. In my opinion, it was kind of somewhat non-existent because the main focus was, of course, on Antarctica and all the expeditions and excursions that would be going on. So they had a pianist on board, and they also had the cruise director doubling in as a singer. I would say that maybe they should have a little bit more entertainment and maybe somewhat somewhat of a nightlife area on board. However, we had that maybe like twice throughout the cruise toward the end, and well, it ended up working out. A lot of people just simply aren't nightlife people. You could expect on this type of cruise a lot of salt and pepper hair on there, and well, either way, to me, no excuse. I know regardless of your age, people still want to go out and have a good time, enjoy the festivities, and well, that'd be my only gripe. Maybe a little bit more entertainment, but overall, still great. The food was absolutely delicious. By far, some of the best food that I've had on board a cruise ship. If I had to categorize it, definitely better than, of course, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity. But to kind of give you guys a, I guess, comparison, if you ever have been to Coastal Kitchen on board any Royal Caribbean ship, it's kind of on par with that, kind of at that level. So the food was luxurious, not too luxurious. There were some nights we had like caviar and lobster available. However, it was just a nice setup that they had there. The food was delicious every day and it tasted fresh. When it came to actually being in Antarctica, we'd be there for 4 days. And like I said, we had a lot of meetings from there. They would break everybody up into different groups ranging from A all the way to F, 150 people divided, because they would just divide everybody up in different categories. Some days we would just have what's known as a Zodiac day. Zodiacs are the little black boats in which we would go from, let's say, the ship over to, let's say, cruising around for the day, or going to land, or switching over to the kayaks. As far as the pricing, like I said, the Zodiacs and some excursions were free or included in your actual cruise package deal that you paid for. However, if you wanted to do something like kayaking, I believe was $350. If you wanted to do paddling, which was like the inflatable kind of safer kayak, it was $75. You wanted to do the stand-up, which we didn't get a chance to do, that was like an extra $150. It was kind of stuff of that nature. So there were, of course, upcharges like you'd see on any traditional ship. However, for a lot of people, and myself included, I would argue that the price that I paid for those actual activities was absolutely worth it. There would be a lot of cancellations and changes to the itinerary because of the weather. We would get someplace, a harbor, and we'd have everything planned, and they'd get ready to get the boats out, and next thing you know, 5 minutes later, a snowstorm comes up and we have rocky water, and well, everything gets canceled for the day or changed to a later time during the day, or they'd be limited activities. Like I said, expedition means if possible when it comes to these types of cruises. However, for the most part, things definitely did work out. We got to go over to the continent of Antarctica and see all kinds of Gentoo penguins. We saw whales. We even saw a giant battle between 3 killer whales and a fin whale. This is the second largest whale on planet Earth. Thankfully, he got away, or well, I want to say unfortunately, because killer whales are my favorite animal, and it was just for me beautiful to see, as they are, even in Antarctica this time of the year, very rare to see. We saw a bunch of humpback whales. We also saw leopard seals, and well, the activity over there was just absolutely beautiful. I felt like I was literally on another planet while over in Antarctica. Now, naturally, some of you may be wondering, why in the heck would somebody take a vacation to Antarctica? Because it's cold. We all know that, right? During the winter months, which is right around the corner, March is the last time to be able to go over to Antarctica before winter starts to kick in. The cruising season for Antarctica is between December and March. We got the last leg of it, and over around that time there are plenty of penguins getting ready for the long winter, because it can get as low as 100 degrees below zero. Just imagine that. It's unsurvivable for humans, but just being over there in that type of environment, there's absolutely nothing like it. We also did something known as the polar plunge, where they have you literally jump into the icing cold, freezing water, which for me, I was a little hesitant to do. And then when I got there, or before I got outside rather, I thought I was gonna do a cannonball or a front flip until I stepped my foot outside on the water, and I realized how cold it was, and yeah, all that went out the window. I just jumped in, immediately wanted to get out. As soon as I jumped in, all of my muscles tensed up and I freaked out, right? I tried to swim a little bit. It was okay after a while, after just kind of sitting there for a second, but it's something that I think I'm just kind of like doing a one and done. If that's something you would ever try, let me know in the comment section below. The polar plunge. A couple things that I also have to point out is that during the expedition days where we actually go out into Antarctica, whether we be on the Zodiac boats or actually making landfall, the bar would be closed until all activities have concluded for the day. Other than that, the bar was open 24/7, which was cool. Well, technically, I guess it wouldn't be 24/7, because if 4 days out of the week it's closed for most of the day. Either way, you get my point, which is for, of course, the safety of yourself, because if somebody is drunk running around, they can't listen to instructions, or maybe they're getting too close to the animals or something of that nature. Well, it's just not something that, well, the staff wants to deal with. And speaking of the staff, you would think that on a luxury cruise, everybody's kind of like catering to your every whim. Oh no, that staff over there is strict. They rule with an iron fist, and and they do so, again, for the safety of everybody involved, including the animals. I can't even imagine how many times they have to deal with somebody that is, well, let's say a little pompous, and then because they paid for their cruise, they think that they are the king and queen of the world traveler, Atlas Ocean ships, and, well, it's just something where they kind of give off like they're babysitting you vibes. But you understand why, because there's so much going on. There's so many risk factors involved in terms of safety of yourself and the animals there as well, and the overall environment. I forgot to mention, every day when we get back on the ship from our excursion, being out for the day, they always had some kind of drink for us over in the locker room area, the mud room as they called it. It'd be some Baileys or some hot chocolate, and well, to me, I thought that was pretty cool. And by the way, in case you guys were wondering, they do give you a jacket and they give you boots to wear each day where you go suit up. And then even after the cruise has concluded, they also send one over to you, a fresh one. That way you're not using the one that you've been rolling around in the muddy, slushy snow in. There were also some activities during the day. After each day has concluded, there was kind of like a breakdown as far as photos throughout the day. And then even toward the end of the cruise, as we headed back over to Ushuaia through the Drake Passage, they did have like a nightclub-like environment, which I thought was cool. They said it's something they typically didn't do, but because they had a break dancer on board, no, I'm just kidding. But well, kind of, at least is what they said. Because there were people that were a little bit more active, they decided to have something up in the observation lounge area where they played music and everybody had a good time and got to really get to know each other a little bit better. And that's something that I did point out to them. I do believe that a social environment does need to kind of be available to passengers on board a cruise ship. That way, whether it be the staff or just all the passengers, they can get better acquainted. And well, I do believe it just creates an overall better experience, because if you just have the excursions and the ship and no social environment, well, again, it just doesn't create the greatest experience. Well, it could be better. Trying to see if I'm missing anything. Well, you can go over to the bridge, by the way. This is the control center where the captain and everybody is. They kind of have like an open door policy since it is a more smaller and intimate ship. You can go over there, ask questions. I didn't notice though after, they will give you a tour of the engine room and all the other giblets that they have over in those particular areas. But I would say overall, this is hands down, as far as the overall experience, the greatest cruise I've ever taken. For the price, I do understand full well your average Joe just simply can't jump on an expedition cruise to Antarctica. However, it's something that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I really enjoyed taking the journey and sharing all the content that I have with all of you. Once again, that will be on my other channel, Jay the Nomad. By the way, I'm sure the question would come up as to if I would do this experience again. Absolutely 100% yes. For me, this was a bucket list type of cruise and experience. The inner child in me is very happy. One little fact about me is that I always wanted to be a marine biologist. I was obsessed with Free Willy when I was a kid. I know everything there is to know about killer whales and just as far as marine life when it comes to whales and dolphins. And well, to me, it was literally a dream come true. The price is well up there even for what I paid. However, I would gladly do it again. I'm thinking about doing another trip either later this year or next year over in the Arctic. However, time will tell. But if you guys have any questions on this particular experience, please let me know in the comment section below. Know that I love every single one of you. Without all of you, this experience would not have been possible. I kid you not when I tell you I literally shed tears when I was over there, because I realized how far I've come with this channel and just with everything that's going on. YouTube is absolutely amazing. You guys are amazing. Again, hit that like button on your way out. Let me know your thoughts. Have any questions, let me know as well. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.